by being a mom and being a corporate leader, I'm able to balance both of those, and I'm utilizing those in both sides. Being a corporate leader makes me a better mom, and being a mom makes me a better leader.
Welcome to Get Real, Get Results. I'm your host, Chantell Preston. I've got over 2 decades of experience in healthcare operations, project management, and consulting, and I've navigated the dance of career advancement and personal satisfaction firsthand. Get Real, Get Results is your go-to resource for navigating the complexities of a modern-day success without sacrificing your well-being. So buckle up and get ready to challenge the status quo, shatter limiting beliefs, and embark on a transformative journey toward a more authentic, balanced, and fulfilling life. This is Get Real, Get Results, and I'm honored to have you join me.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the lie that mothering and business has to be separate. I think we've all gone through this, especially, I guess this podcast is really more for folks that have had children. Go through the trials and tribulations of, what is it? Am I going to have a career or am I going to have kids? You know, in the old days, you couldn't have both. So which one do I got to choose? You know, it's an interesting scenario, and I'm just going to kind of share some of my experience. I didn't have children until I was later in life. I had my daughter when I was 37, and it was really mainly because I was so engrossed in my career. I felt like if I had children, my purpose and my focus would change. People would find me weak. They would think I'm not as good as I used to be. My clients wouldn't hire me. So there were so many things that went through my head that if I had this child, you know, life would change so significantly. I would lose who I was. And at that point in my life, my whole life was around my career and who I was in the business world. So I went ahead and had the child. Obviously, my business partner was very supportive. Both of them were. They said, hey, look, you know, time's running out. Time is ticking. So if you're going to do it, you might want to do it now. And I thought, well, we don't have time. We don't have time. We got too much stuff going on. And I realized now that I have children, it's never a good time to have kids because they will encompass your entire life, which is the greatest thing in the world and sometimes can be very challenging. So it was a great experience. I have to tell you, from that individual that never wanted kids, best thing I ever did was have my daughter. It just puts a different perspective on life. However, with that same mindset after I had Addison, my daughter, I was scared to death. You know, I was scared to death to lose my identity of my work identity. I had Addison on a Friday. I went back to work on the Tuesday after because I had clients and they didn't care that I had just had a baby. They wanted to know when I was going to be back at work so I could finish up the projects that I had. You know, it was really kind of a turning point for me in regards to what's important in life. I guess, you know, everybody tell me, oh, you're going to change when you have a child. I'm going to be the same. I'm never going to change. You know, I thought that was the kiss of death in regards to my career. I quickly realized it wasn't. You know, did I change? I did change. I'm not going to lie. I did change. I became probably more compassionate. I wasn't the one on the airplane saying, oh, God, lady, please don't sit next to me because you have a child. Now I was like, oh, let me hold your baby. I totally get it. When I was doing, you know, traveling for work. So I did change as an individual. However, my work ethic and who I was in my career didn't change. Maybe that was good. Maybe that was bad. You know, one of the stories I'll tell you probably wasn't that good. But I did try to be the best parent and the best career woman that I could be. So what that did mean is that I was going to try to be the best parent, but continue down the path of the career goals that I was trying to achieve. Sometimes I was successful, sometimes I was not. We were growing Mentis at that time. We were on a great trajectory. You know, 2015, we sold to private equity. At that point, I blew up my life. I didn't really know who I was anymore. You know, everybody says, oh, go sell your company. It's great. You know, it's everything you've ever dreamed for. Be careful. We'll do a whole episode on that. There's a lot of things that come along with that. I, you know, separated from my partner, and here I had this 5-year-old kid, you know, and I have to admit, vulnerable point for me, I didn't even know what my daughter ate for lunch. You know, I was so engrossed. I realized, oh my gosh, I have to change my ways. You know, 5 years had already gone and my daughter and I didn't have this bond that I had always hoped to have. So I made some decisions in my own life. You know, we talk about, you know, in earlier episodes, you know, you sometimes have to reevaluate what's important to you, you know, on a consistent basis. Well, it had always been my career. Well, at this point, I realized that's not what's most important to me. What's most important to me is this child, my daughter, my own flesh and blood. So I chose to take a little bit of time off and really get to know my daughter. I was so worried that it was going to hurt my career. Yeah, I was going to have the gap. I was, all those things that we hear about. It was the best time of my life because it showed me so many different aspects of life other than just work. And it really helped me as an individual realize the importance of relationships and building those relationships. My daughter's 13 now. We're like this. We spend all our time together. She's amazing. And so I had to figure out how to integrate my personal life with my work. And that's my mothering. As kids grow, their schedules get hectic. So I had to figure out how could I balance and juggle all of this. Don't get me wrong, I had lots of help. We all do. We need our tribe. We need help. However, it did help me become a better leader too. And I kind of took on the mentality of I'm not just a leader at work, but I'm also a leader at home. And so a lot of the concepts that I was using at work, I utilized at home. And, our structure, our organization, being prepared, all of those things, I started to, I don't want to make it sound like it was just this cold-hearted thing, but you start incorporating things that are working at work or in your organization with things that are going to work in your home and vice versa. I started looking at kind of like a little business. This was my company at home. How can I make sure it's running effectively and efficiently so we could achieve all of our goals that we were trying to achieve? All of those things that I became an expert in, that why were we not deploying those in our own personal or home life to make it more efficient so we could have more quality time with each other? And that was the one thing I learned, a long time ago. I gave up the guilt. We all need to throw away the guilt, okay? We all have the guilt. Oh my God, I'm leaving my kids again. I got to go on this business trip. I got to do this. I have this dinner. We carry so much guilt about that. And then I realized, most of the time, no offense, my kids didn't care. I'm sure they cared that I wasn't, if I wasn't at a big event, which I never missed a big event, but in regards to taking them to practice and back and things like that was just monotony, they didn't really care. What they wanted was me to be present on quality time. When they had an event, they had a game, they wanted a date day. I still do date days with all three of my girls, and that's just a day between me and them where we get to go do something fun. Why? Because they remember those times. The things I don't do is I don't promise them that I'm going to pick them up from school, because when you promise a kid something and you don't show up, that builds distrust. And 6-year-olds don't forget, right? And so I tell them, hey, I'm going to make every effort to get there, but I can't promise that I can do that today. I may have meetings, and trying to communicate with them as to why it's important to me. Coming back to work and after COVID, I took some time off again, trying to figure out what's my next phase. And it was interesting because my kids got used to me being there all the time. So when I did start my next phase of doing my podcast, speaking, consulting, why are you leaving? You said you weren't going to leave us. And that guilt started all over again. And it was fascinating because I really had to struggle and look internally on myself as, why am I doing this? Why? I don't need to do this. Why am I doing this? And that came back to my purpose. I realized I needed a purpose in life. And raising kids is a purpose, and some people, they're great with that. That's just not for me. My purpose is bigger than that. I want my kids to have the ability to be anything and everything they want to be in life and have no obstacles or challenges. I know that's probably a way too big of a goal. We talked about goals earlier. Way too big of a goal, but that was why I'm doing this. And I'm so passionate about helping women. I finally, one day, somebody said to me, they said, well, why don't you just sit down and tell your kids why you're doing it? Novel idea. I'd never thought about that. I tried to leave work at the door to talk about it in the home. And I thought, you know what, you're right. They're old enough now. I sat down with my girls and I told them, this is why I'm leaving. It's important to me to have a purpose. And my purpose is I want to help as many people as I can achieve their goals in life. And the only way that I can do that is by going out and meeting these people and speaking to them. And it was fascinating, the response I got from my kids. I thought, there'd be tears, there'd be screams, there would be, anger. It was none of that. It was, they got it. They understood. I put it in a way that they understood why it was important to me. And I have to tell you, it's made my life so much easier. Now, instead of leaving everything at the door, which is, what I try to do forever, it's bringing them in to understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. They understood running hospitals. They understood I took care of people, and that was very important to me. This new phase, they understand it's important for me to help people. And they get that because they all like to do that as well. We do that as a family. They all like to do that. It's bridging that gap between mothering and business. Why does it have to be separate? It doesn't have to be. My oldest daughter goes on business trips with me. In a few weeks, we're going to go to California. I've got some consulting I'm doing out there. I'm going to take her with me. She loves to come watch me speak. It's bringing those kids into what we do on a daily basis and let them understand. I didn't give my kids enough credit. I didn't think they'd get it. I mean, half the people can't explain what I do for a living. So I didn't think they would get it. They got it. And that meant the world to me. But it also allowed me to be a really positive role model for them. When I go to work, I tell people, I've never worked a day in my life. Why? Because I've always loved what I've done. Everything I've done in my life, I've loved. And I tell people, 8 hours out of a day is a long time to be miserable out of your life. So if you're miserable, find something else to do. I've loved every day of my life of working. And I want my kids to see that. Not that, oh God, I got to go to work again. It's brutal. I want my kids to realize that work is a good thing. It's a great thing to have a purpose and to be able to have a job and a career that you enjoy. I mean, that's success. It's not about how much money you make. It's not about your title. It's about being happy and enjoying what you're doing. And so if I can articulate that back to my kids, I can bring it all together. So the mothering, the lies of, I've got to keep everything separate and check it at the door, I totally get it. However, I don't think that that's how we're working in today. I think nowadays it's easier to bring everybody in and make them understand. And so let's talk about the flip side. Because people say, my company doesn't care about my family. They just want me to be at work from 9 to 5 and work my ass off, and they don't care about anything else. Again, you're going to find situations like that. And sometimes that's kind of a little bit of the old school. I used to be like that. I'm not going to lie. I used to be like that in my authoritarian days. Now I want to understand people's lives. I want to get to know them on a personal basis. That belonging to the organization is important for us corporate leaders, that we get the buy-in from our employees and they feel it. That's the way you build trust. Nobody's going to trust you as a leader unless they feel like you care about them, not only at work, but in all aspects of their life. And if I don't know anything about your life outside of work, how am I going to build that trust with you? So again, it goes back to leadership and what type of culture do you want to create and what type of leader do you want to be? Do you want to be the leader that, hey, comes in, I hate my boss, but I'm here because it's a paycheck? Or do I want to be the leader that's inspiring to my staff, that they want to be here every day, that they want to be part of the team and belong? That's the leader I want to be at the end of the day. But that's also the mother I want to be. I want my kids to be inspired. I want them to follow their dreams. Crazy story here that people love to hear is, my daughter is a world ballroom champion dancer at the age of 13. I know. How did she get into it? I say I gave her all my moves. She says I didn't, but we'll go with that. She's a world ballroom champion. It's something she's so passionate about. At 13, I definitely didn't have this commitment and passion for anything. My daughter does. We travel all over the U.S. She recently got picked up by Shirley Ballas out of the U.K. She's a Latin queen of ballroom. And Shirley said, great, I would love to coach your child, but she's going to have to train in L.A. Okay, how hard can that be, right? We'll go to L.A. every once in a while. Oh, no, you're going to go to L.A. every other weekend. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I couldn't give up this opportunity for my daughter. So I said, okay, we'll figure out how to make it work. So we were going back and forth to L.A. every other weekend. About 2 months in, I realized this is not sustainable for me. I've got 2 other children. I've got businesses to run. And so I said, hey, Shirley, if I open a dance studio in Houston, will you help me recruit her dance trainers to move to Houston? And we'll create the same environment in Houston as we have in LA. So she agreed to do that. Next thing I know, I've got these trainers moving to LA. We opened a dance studio called the Dance Bar in Bel Air, Texas. Been the greatest thing probably I've ever done. And not because it's a dance studio, because I get to interact with these amazing young ladies and gentlemen that want to dance, but what they're learning in life are all the skills that I wish somebody would have taught me. camaraderie, confidence, resilience. I figure if we're teaching that to adults now that have imposter syndrome and all those things, why can't we teach that to these kids, right? So I've embarked on this dance studio journey, and it's also an amazing opportunity for my daughter and I to continue to spend time together. She's seen how to open a business, how to run a business. She's seen the challenges. She's seen the perks. So again, it's about bringing that all together. And so showing her both sides that, again, hard work, good work ethic, resilience will get you anywhere in life. So those are some of the things that I'm bringing together with just not only my staff, but also my family as a whole. So what are we actually talking about here? What you may feel like is that motherhood and your business life have to be completely separate. However, the reality is that being a corporate leader makes me a better mom. And being a mom makes me a better leader. You know, I look at some of the characteristics that I utilize across both. My time management, I don't have time to screw around all day. I don't have time to chit chat. I want to get in and get my stuff done. I want to be efficient with my time because, again, I've got other priorities I've got to attend to as well. Secondarily, I trust my gut. As a good mom, I got to trust my gut sometimes. With work, it's the same thing. If I think something is wrong, I'm usually right. So I'm trusting my gut. That's in both sides. And then the third is efficiency. Again, you talk about the time management, but efficient and effective. We've got to get things done. And so by being a mom and being a corporate leader, I'm able to balance both of those, and I'm utilizing those in both sides. So I just want to recap some takeaways from today that maybe you can deploy in your own life. One is maybe communicate your purpose to your kids. Tell them why you work, why it's important to you. Bring them in so they understand a little bit more about what you do and why you're doing it. Take your kids on your business trips, maybe let them sit into a meeting. If it's appropriate, let them see who you are. I mean, my daughter she's my biggest fan, and she loves to come watch me speak. Why? Because she gets it, and she sees a whole different side of me than she sees at home. So those are some takeaways. Think about that. Figure out how to incorporate your family into your work life. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to make everyone happier. Okay, guys, thank you so much again for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode. Y'all have a great week.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Get Real, Get Results. Now get off your ass, get out there, and enjoy the life that you want to live. We're here if you need guidance, and until next time, do your best, enjoy the small victories, and stay unstoppable. And don't forget to visit chantellpreston.com for coaching or keynote booking information. And remember, you have to get real to get results.